Hello, everyone. We'll get started in just a minute or so. We're just letting everybody kind of enter today's session. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be right with you. All right, just a couple more seconds and we'll kick this off. So thank you all for joining. Feel free to take advantage of the chat. We would love to hear where you're from, maybe what the weather is, maybe anything else that you'd like to share. That's fun. And we'll get this thing started. We're excited to have you, so thank you so much for joining.
Welcome, everybody.
Perfect. I think we can get started. We're almost at critical mass here, so people will kind of jump in and start. But welcome back, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us for our final session of our webinar, our three-part webinar series from Launch to Loyalty. I'm Nicole, and I am the marketing manager here at WebScribble.
And I'm Josh Slyman. I'm Director of Product Strategy here at WebScribble, and we're super excited to be diving into a topic that's close to every association's heart, retention and renewals. And this is really where we start to tie in that long-term value of your career center. So we're excited to have this conversation today. And Nicole, this has been a ton of fun. This whole series, it's been one of my favorite things we've done
Yes.
this year. So it's been
It's
great.
been a blast. It's something that Josh and I obviously love to talk about. And really building towards this last and final session has been something that we've been excited to do. And just to kind of gloss over what we covered in session one. So that was all about marketing your career center at the time of launch. And then building that adoption and engagement was focusing on session two. So today we're really going to connect those pieces of the puzzle to show you how careers can really become the glue that keeps members coming back year after year. And so some quick intros before we dive in and get started. So my name is Nicole Matze. I've been a marketer for about 12 plus years now, four of those being at WebScribble. And this is a topic that we love to talk about is really just getting the most out of your career center and helping you kind of spread the good word to your membership and beyond. So we're excited to get started today. And obviously you can see us here on the screen. Watson's with us too. Watson is actually the cute little corgi that you'll see throughout this presentation. You may see him available as a plush toy at an ASAE annual event. He is Alexander, one of our co-founders, real dogs actually, and he's like our official mascot for fun. So look out for Watson.
And I am Joshua Slyman. I've been with WebScribble for over 3 years now, 4 years. And before that, I was with the strategic services team at Higher Logic. So really working with associations to help build community and understand that platform. And so from that, I've really developed, this sort of a cross-functional approach to how we look at these engagement systems that we're all creating, and then also how careers can really have an impact on and building and creating the community that you all maintain. So excited to chat with you all.
Yeah, and for those of you that joined us for sessions 1 and 2, thank you so much. Now you have like the full set to really market your career center like a pro at every single stage of the whole entire process. So thank you so much for joining us. And this is really just about helping you market your association's career center to the fullest.
Yeah, I mean, each of the sessions is really just intended to sort of connect to the full life cycle. Launch creates energy, adoption builds habits, retention is really about proving that value year after year. And if you missed any of the earlier sessions, don't worry. We're going to make sure you get the links to all and the recording for this one as well. So don't worry about that. Okay, just a quick recap. First session was about launch, creating a buzz, positioning your career center, getting stakeholders on board.
Yeah, where session 2 really focus on driving that adoption and engagement. So building good habits and really embedding the career center across your entire association's ecosystem.
So today, session 3, we're going to talk about retention and renewal, turning those habits into loyalty, making Career Center part of really why members stay with your organization, engage with your organization, and so we're excited to have this conversation.
And so to look at some of the learning objectives that we're going to cover today, today's really all about connecting your messaging to what really drives retention and renewal. So showing members how and why their careers move forward with you.
Yeah, and we'll cover some how consistent efforts across your marketing channels can really help position careers and your career center specifically as a retention driver, not just a side benefit. I think sometimes it has a tendency to get siloed as sort of a standalone tool, or and there's really a lot of power and emotional engagement in the career center, as well as some really, really impactful tools to help members advance their careers. So we'll talk about some ways to connect it all throughout sort of this digital ecosystem that associations use to deliver member benefits.
Exactly. And then we'll also share some ways to really help reinforce that value with some targeted messaging examples as well.
And then finally, how to sort of align careers and marketing, so you can really look at and see that long-term impact across the organization, across your membership, and as well as the industry.
Perfect. And we love to hear from you. And so this is a great time for us to launch into a poll. This question is really geared towards how you're currently engaging your members for renewal right now. So which of the following really best describes how you're engaging them for renewal? Maybe you're doing some ad hoc outreach that's really, springing up when the renewals, season of renewals is upon us. Maybe you're doing those basic reminders that consist of standard emails or mailings being sent to all. Or maybe you're taking it a step further. You have some segmented campaigns with some targeted messaging based on member type or behavior. Or maybe you have benefit driven renewals. So these are campaigns that are really tied specifically to career tools and member value. Or you're an absolute pro, you have this automated and integrated as much as possible. You have renewal really built into your year-round engagement strategy and systems. So I'll give everybody a second to kind of get their answers in there. And then I can share with the class. But so far, it looks like we're doing a lot of basic reminders, standard emails and mailings are being sent to all members. Also, a big bulk of us are doing segmented campaigns. So you have some targeted messaging that's geared towards different member type or behaviors. So that's great to see. And there's actually a decent amount that are automated and integrated. So we love to hear that, and we're excited. Later on in the session, we'll have some time to kind of go peer to peer and kind of share some of your examples that maybe you're already doing that you're seeing some success in. So thank you so much
Great.
for sharing that with us.
Yeah, it's great. And it looks like there's some great opportunity to talk about how benefit-driven renewals and how we can help, the Career Center specifically can help support, renewals and retention throughout the member life cycle. So if you join the first few sessions, you've seen these next couple slides, but I think it's always sort of again, not everybody was in the first one, so just a good perspective to as we walk through retention and renewal as well. So I want to take a quick look at the association engagement ecosystem, right? This is a typical example. I know some of you may or have more or less of this within your tech stack. But sort of generally speaking, this pretty much represents how most associations are delivering their benefits digitally to their members, right? We've got an AMS, which is connected to a website, which has a login wall. Um, Probably have behind that login wall some learning management, maybe a community, probably the job board or a career center, event center, things like that. You're probably using social media for prospecting and amplification. So a lot of these tools, they have the opportunity to sort of integrate both technically and strategically. And so one of the perspectives that I try to bring to the table are where are some of these opportunities where we can leverage cross-platform spaces or opportunities, things like, most community, the job board, a lot of these things have advertising or digital display space that's available. So are we using that even to self-promote, right? To get digital awareness to the job boards, widgets and feeds are super powerful in using and cross promoting, careers with learning. Or community and careers, and so where are those opportunities to really sort of spread the value of careers across this ecosystem, but also to bring this ecosystem approach into, where what parts of community can maybe leverage or promote within the career space. Is there a career community or if there's learning management pieces, certifications, things like that. There are all these opportunities to connect these dots for members and really to help drive this sort of career journey across this ecosystem. So just wanted to again sort of recenter on general perspective and as we're talking on sort of what tool set we're talking about when we're having these discussions.
And supporting members really throughout their journey is a theme that we've hit on, I think, through all of the sessions in this webinar series. But when we're thinking about member value and supporting renewals and building retention, career support, career security is what many members need the most, especially at times of transition. And 88% are joining for career growth, and this is a stat that we're going to pull out throughout this presentation. Is something that is from 2025 Smith Buckling's Unlocking Value for Members report. And it strikes a chord with us. We know that members care about career growth, and it's an emotional driver for many. And especially at times of uncertainty, your career center is really going to be that stability that they're looking for. And your association is obviously the ones that have that stability that are offering that career center as a resource. So it's just something that we want to make sure that we are promoting and making visible to our members at all times.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's much more than a job board, right? Like it is, as Nicole mentioned, it's this emotionally connected engagement engine, right? It connects to people's individual growth, to their financial growth, to their support of their family, to their visibility within an industry. Like all of these pieces that really are very emotional in that driver, but also very, connected to the mission. And pure in our execution as we help to support that growth, right? So it becomes this really powerful strategic tool that allows us to support members when they're in flux, when things are changing, when things are uncertain, and really helps to, we have the opportunity to use it to help them guide them forward, especially when we talk about how we market and present it into our membership. So members definitely, when they feel like their career is being supported, they engage more often, they're more likely to stick around. So career trails really aren't just a benefit. They ultimately become like a reason for members to stay, an impactful way for people to be engaged and stay engaged with the association. And ultimately, it has the opportunity to provide you all with a lot of success stories and positive impact on the membership that is available to be leveraged. And as our CEO often says, if we find a member a job, we found a member for life. And so I think it's a really important piece of the puzzle, right? Because it really does speak to the potential retention factor that comes into play with supporting somebody's career, especially when we're keeping them in an industry, right? And that the whole point is to sort of foster that along a longer pathway and have a bigger impact on this shared mission.
Yeah, exactly. And really looking at it like the Career Center isn't just this useful tool, it's really essential. It's offering that personalized support, whether somebody is just searching for their next opportunity, or maybe they're leveling up their skill set and just figuring out what's next. Above all, it's really making your members feel like they are supported by their community. They can see the progress that they're making towards their career goals and aspirations, and they feel valued, and they feel seen professionally, which is something that is a very powerful emotional driver that we want to take advantage of, especially when we're looking at renewal and establishing that value that your association is really bringing to your members.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about the two R's. Here's what we're working with. Retention is really about delivering that ongoing, sustaining value, but also communicating that value long term, so that we're reminding and keeping our members informed of the level of value and connection that we have. We're not just trying to hold their attention for a moment or get them to log in one time, although that is an important starting point. Um,
But that was
so
last
yeah,
session, not this session.
exactly. And renewal is that time. Renewal, right, is that time where the members reflecting back, and they're looking at what's the impact of the relationship we've had with I've had with this organization, right? What's the reason? What's the reason that I'm going to re-up and invest again?
Exactly. And like we talked about before, 88% of those members are joining the association for career growth. So if we're able to support, guide, and show them their career progress, then we give them a really easy reason to renew at the time of renewal.
Really easy.
Yeah, and then when we're looking at retention, we're really celebrating progress. So that's reminding members of those milestones that they've hit. And it could be as something as simple as updating their profile, or landing an interview, or maybe they're completed a certification or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also about reinforcing that the career center is a long-term benefit. And it's supportive and it's there for members when those transition times come up. And it's not just a job board, but this sort of dynamic resource, a career center that has tools and resources, and that ultimately if we encourage them to engage with and leverage uh, more regularly, right, it increases their visibility, it gives them more opportunity, and it becomes a spot for them to sort of stand out within subsegment of talent that you all as associations represent. And I think that's really the benefit of from an employer's perspective of buying into an association career center, right? Is that you get access to these dedicated people who are certified, who are educated, who are advancing their careers, and they're dedicated to the careers because we know that because they're part of this association. So it really becomes this important piece of it. So let's hop over. And then really ultimately we're really looking to make sure that members continue to see value over time. So we are looking to make sure we're reinforcing how the Career Center fits into their ongoing professional journey, right? Remind them that the platform supports growth at every stage. Whether or not it's advancing their role, growing individually, preparing for a certification or exploring a career train change, right? You have the opportunity to position the Career Center as this trusted companion. It's not just a one-off tool that I go to when I'm doing a job search, but it's this collection of benefits and opportunity for me to grow and advance, and it's connected across this ecosystem to these other pieces like learning management systems or communities so that we're sort of cross pulling this engagement value across those platforms, but also giving the member a more individualized, personalized experience.
Exactly. And really, we obviously know that the tools are great, that exist in the Career Center, and we may be a little bit biased to say that because we're web scribble. But the tools that are there are really great and are helpful to members. But what's really important is to connect those tools, to real outcomes. So what I mean by that is really showing how members are hitting those milestones, how they're earning their promotions, how they're completing their certifications, or achieving, career clarity through maybe career planning. That proof of progress is what's really going to keep them engaged and makes your career center part of their everyday membership experience. And so let's talk about how we can really position the center to drive retention specifically.
So when we're thinking about messaging around that really is purposefully intended to drive retention, right? We're trying to teach members how to see and use the Career Center as a core benefit, not just a tool. So the way we talk about it really shapes that experience that they have with it. And so instead of setting up a job alert, right, we want to position it to their individual motivations. Right. So this is a career automation, right? It is a tool there that automates part of the process in their career search that helps them and makes it easier. So instead of uploading your resume, right? We want to frame it as raising your visibility, right? The ability to showcase your strengths and your successes within the career platform really raises your individual visibility to employers. It also raises your visibility within the association. And again, this is another place where data and the ability to better understand where our members are becomes super impactful. But really, being able to frame that, upload your resume based on their end goal, which is to increase their visibility, right, to get more opportunities, really becomes a more effective positioning when we're talking about sort of long-term value.
Exactly, Josh. And really, messaging should always connect the tools to real outcomes that members care about. So landing that first job, earning a promotion, navigating a career change, or gaining a new certification. Those outcomes are like your hook, when you're messaging to your members. When we
Yeah.
consistently frame the Career Center as the place where those results happen, we move from members from passive use to active habit. And it's not about the feature itself, it's really about the value promise behind it. And that's the message that really drives the retention.
that's a really good point, right? It really is leveraging those end goals or those member motivations, and speaking to those directly to those motivations. And I think sometimes we get tied up in driving our own internal metrics. Register for this webinar.
Mm.
Registrations are our metric. Um,
Yeah, not
the
theirs.
but really learning, right, is the registration for or is the primary driver for the user. And so positioning that registration as a hoop that we have to jump through versus a learning opportunity, right, puts us at a disadvantage. So really thinking about where our members are, what their motivations are when they log in to leverage our platforms or when we connect with them and hit them with our touch points. I think that how we position that really does help to drive that end understanding of long-term value.
For sure.
All right, so focus for a minute on renewal, which on the other hand is that like moment of truth, right? Members want to know like, did I get value? Did this help me grow? What are the results from our time together? Show me the impact.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where those outcomes and success stories can really come in. So share those usage stats, testimonials, or success blurbs that you have from your membership. And so then that really shows members how your career center has supported them as well as their peers in the past year. And it's obvious that they will continue to help themselves and their peers in the year to follow, making Renewal, a great time to showcase these success stories so that they understand the true value that the organization brings to them.
Yeah, renewal is that moment to reinforce impact, to remind the members why their membership matters, why they are invested in the association, why they volunteer, why they are mentor or being mentees, right? Like all of those pieces tie back to um, the next step, which is the opportunities, the growth, and so bringing those pieces together, not necessarily focusing on features. It's really about those outcomes. So looking for opportunities to collect and highlight stories of members landing jobs, of grabbing those certifications, right, of advancing those careers, and those really, really, really support the real value that members have received, and that proof of impact is ultimately what moves members from questioning renewal to a confident yes, right? Like or not questioning it at all, which really is what we all want, right? Like there should be no question, and we know the value we deliver, but sometimes there's opportunity for us to maybe present it in a different light, so that or in different spots across that ecosystem, so that it really drives home that long-term value.
And I think one of my favorite things about it too is like, the proof is in the pudding, so to speak, but it's really authentic. These are like authentic, real member spotlights, real member stories that you're showcasing, and it doesn't get much more real than that. So once you have that proof and you have those really good success stories that you want to highlight, that you want to shout from the rooftops to your members and beyond, it's important that you don't obviously keep that proof siloed. So you want to look across your ecosystem and make sure that you're able to embed it where it's appropriate to really share the success stories. And renewal messaging should really surface everywhere. So that could be in your emails, that could be featured on your website, in your community, and even at events where applicable. When members consistently see that the Career Center's position is part of their professional journey, renewal feels like a natural step forward. It feels like it's the next step and it's a normal thing that they wouldn't even think twice necessarily about doing.
It
It already
becomes
fits into what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes part of the journey. Yeah, and that's exactly what we want. We want this to feel natural, to be part of, a consistent messaging of value and impact on careers. Um, and so, yeah, no, perfectly said, Nicole. Renewal messaging has like one core job, as we mentioned, like was it worth it? So we need to make that answer really, really obvious, and great opportunity is telling those stories of value. It's not saying, renew today, it's showing them the proof and doing it consistently and throughout their journey, annual, or membership, whatever that looks like, so that it's not just a transactional thing at the end.
Exactly. And I think there's a lot to be said about that piece because it's like if you're buying something in, a hot commodity or whatever, it's like, well, I don't want to just hear about it at the time of close. It's obviously been a work in progress to really establish like that value throughout. And that's what you're doing is you're really establishing your organization's value to the member throughout. And we're just looking for places where career can tie into that. And so when you have the proof, it really is focused on how you frame those outcomes. So instead of talking about features, we really want to highlight those results. So those are things like the interviews landed. Maybe that's something like jobs matched, certifications completed, as well as the career clarity achieved. The messaging should really put the outcomes front and center so that members can easily see the return on their investment in a really authentic way.
Yeah, and when careers are part of the renewal story, like it elevates it past that sort of transactional reminder, and ultimately you're saying that staying a member is essential because this is where your growth happens, and that framing makes renewal feel like the next step, not a transaction or a question.
Exactly. And I think this is a great place for us to kind of stop and poll the audience about how you're currently connecting your career center to renewal now. So let me go ahead and launch that one for you all. And it could be as simple as you're not doing that at this time whatsoever. So there's a lot of opportunity for you to really engage your members in terms of connecting career to renewal. Maybe you mention it here and there in renewal reminders, or maybe you're taking it a step further and like sharing those success stories, those personalized outcomes that we were talking about, or maybe you're just sharing a few stats here and there. Um, but I'll give everybody kind of a second to filter the responses in, and there's no wrong answer. It's also anonymous, so you're safe here. All right, it looks like we're starting to wrap. So let me share those results with you all. It looks like we have a great opportunity to really help some of you all with today's tactics and messaging to connect your career center to renewal. So that's super exciting that a lot of you aren't currently doing that right now. Whereas some of you are mentioning it in renewal reminders here and there. So you know that the power of the Career Center could be used and leveraged in different ways, and so this could be one of them. And a small percentage of you all are sharing personalized outcomes and stories. So I would love to hear more about how you are all doing that.
Yeah, totally. Right.
Okay. So if you've joined us for any of our previous sessions in the series, some of this might sound familiar, and obviously that's intentional. We're still using the same core association channels that you're familiar with. So things that you use to market to currently, including your website, your email marketing, your community, your events. But the message just slightly shifts depending on the phase that you're in.
Right. So in the launch phase, right, the goal was to spark awareness, to create anticipation among members. And as you moved into that adoption and engagement, the focus shifted to consistency, reinforcing value, building habits, encouraging members to explore the value of the platform more deeply. Um, And finally here in the retention and renewal phase, right, we're talking about celebrating milestones, showcasing outcomes, clearly demonstrating how your career center really drives impact. And that's where members see the true value of their membership, and ultimately one of the reasons that the Career Center has the ability to impact renewals and retention.
Exactly. And the key takeaway is that we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just making sure that it keeps turning by speaking to your members where they are in their journey.
So let's hop into some tactics. We've used this approach in the previous webinars, but just as a reminder, good, better, best doesn't necessarily mean good is bad. It's about matching capacity to goals. We totally understand not every team has the time or the resources or the staff for a big full rollout, and that's totally okay. Adoption and retention really not about a volume. It's really about consistency, right? It's about messaging and consistency, and so that's what we're talking about in these sort of good, better, best models. So this opportunity to a see where you are versus where you could be, but also reward what's working and advance what could be better.
Absolutely. And do what you can with what you have. We say this a lot, and it's true because a lot of teams don't look the same. So maybe it's a bandwidth issue, maybe it's a resource issue, whatever it may be. Just do what you can. Even small efforts are really going to drive results when they're repeated and relevant. So.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's talk about some content tactics. So content is one of the strongest ways that we can really reinforce value because it's visible, it's shareable, as well as searchable. So even simple blog posts or articles reminding members that their career center is more than just job listings. It's part of their professional development journey, goes a long way.
Yeah. Absolutely. And when we tie that content to milestones, right, like to certification preps or to career transitions or to even to to renewal season, right, it becomes more personal and more relevant. And so that's where members start to see themselves in the sort of this bigger picture story that you all are telling, and how that aligns with the mission, right? Like and you're all together moving this mission into the workplace.
Yeah, exactly. And then probably the best approach is really packaging all that together. So an annual member impact report, as an example, or personalized content bundles at renewal time, they really show proof of progress and the outcomes that we've been talking about throughout this session. Is messaging that doesn't just say renew and renew now. It really demonstrates why staying connected with your organization has lasting value.
Again, and we understand like this isn't necessarily something that is simple, but again, this opportunity to how can we present and what can we present back to our members in a way that is consumable and supports their individual outcomes, right? Especially when we're talking about renewal. Retention speaks much more to sort of that big picture, but when we're talking about renewal, we want to really take the opportunities where we can to speak to that individual story.
Agreed. And so when we're looking at internal champions, and so developing those internal champions within your organization, retention isn't just a marketing job. It really is truly a cross-functional function. Every team that touches the member journey can help reinforce the value of the Career Center at some point.
Yeah, at a basic level, it starts with just equipping teams with talking points and some success stats that can happen in normal meetings. Um, but yeah, membership, education, events, everyone really should know and understand how to connect the dots between careers and member value and be able to speak to that in their execution for the organization, if that makes sense.
And I know that sounds like almost like a no-brainer that you would think like, oh, okay, yeah, we would want some talking points and everybody should know, but maybe everybody doesn't know. So making it really easy for them is super important. So giving your teams those ready-made blurbs, graphics, or even slides so that they can naturally promote the Career Center and their communication that they're already doing with members. It just makes sense and it feels authentic to them as well.
Right. And maybe again you're already at this sort of higher level integrated approach, right? So embedding career center value into internal workflows, right? Or dashboards, renewal scripts, regular meeting agendas, right? That way the career center becomes part of sort of how the organization talks about member value, and it's not just as Nicole mentioned earlier, siloed to one department, right? It really does sort of impact across a lot of these internal departments. So let's look at your website. Of course, we want, of course, to have a Career Center link as visible as possible, hopefully in the top nav, hopefully highlighting, in within the sort of normal, as few clicks as possible, when we put it that way. But even better, right, is having a career hub and refreshing that regularly with seasonal content or career specific content for your niche or your industry that you all are individually serving. A more integrated approach would be like embedding into the renewal pages, right? If you're using sort of a member portal, right? Bringing some of those pieces into AMS dashboards or member portals, definitely into the communication and for onboarding and life cycle flows, and leveraging it in renewal emails and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so even those small updates are going to signal that your platform is current and relevant. Embedding it into the renewal flows makes it unavoidable, but in the best way possible. And so when we're thinking about some of the email tactics, with email, the easiest way to get started is obviously some of those one-off reminders. So maybe highlighting a single tool like job alerts or a new guide. It keeps the Career Center visible without really overwhelming members.
But then you could also level it up by building a rhythm, right? Like quarterly spotlights or seasonal nudges, like what's up in your career this spring, or give members a reason to come back at the right time. Keep it fresh and relevant, and top of mind, right? And again, I think working it into a rhythm, a schedule, a content calendar, making careers one of your content pillars really does increase its visibility and relevancy to your members.
Yeah, totally. And then something that's more of a fully integrated approach could look like running a short renewal mini campaign. So you can think of it as like a little story arc. Here's what you achieved, here's what's next, and here's how your peers are using the platform too. That kind of messaging is really going to reinforce why renewal makes sense.
Great tips. Great tips.
And so social media and visual nudges. Social media is one of the quickest ways to really normalize your career center and getting it in front of members. A good starting point here is simply posting reminders. So using short and direct prompts that say that your career tools are here and they're ready when you are. So something easy, something not too overwhelming, and something small is still going to be getting in the Career Center in front of members consistently and serving up relevant content for them too.
Yeah, even better, right? This is one of those great opportunities to highlight member milestones, to look at tool spotlights, to post relevant jobs, to post people's to highlight certifications, or individual success stories from within the membership. If you have a mentoring functionality, then it's a great place to sort of highlight some of those success stories, maybe a mentor and mentee highlight. So great opportunities again all over sort of the success of members in order to really highlight and bring that value together.
Yeah, exactly. And then looking at the best approach is taking it a step further with themed campaigns. As marketers, we love a themed campaign. So looking at how that can really apply to your career center, you could think of something like maybe Career Growth Week, where each day you highlight different outcomes or success stories from members and really tie them directly to Renewal's call to actions. That kind of storytelling really sticks, and it makes careers scroll worthy, which we love.
I love it. Love it. So, come from come from online community, so something always close to my heart. And so the way I fell into this was I actually was I saw how careers became an important tool to solve problems for the associations and clients I was working for and with at Higher Logic, and so I saw it as an expansion of my tool set. To drive engagement, and I was excited to explore that and to see how these things fit together. So online community is, especially from professional association perspective, right? It's already career adjacent. Members are already there to essentially talk about their jobs, their skills, their growth, and so it's the perfect place to reinforce why staying engaged with that tool set matters. And for retention, even a simple pinned thread reminds them that career conversations belong here. And for renewal, showcasing career wins in that space, right? Like highlights the value that they've received this year. So you really want to look for the opportunities to leverage and activate your champions, and community is a great place to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And when members are hearing those career stories from peers and not staff, it's going to feel more authentic and encouraging them to share those promotions, those certifications, or new jobs. Those peer voices really validate the impact of the membership. And when those stories are visible during renewal season, they don't just show activity, they really show that proof that we've been talking about, that proof of progress. That's the kind of messaging that's going to make members way more confident about staying.
Great points. Yeah, absolutely. Events, huge networking and engagement tool, right? And so using events, those are natural occurring moments to remind members why the Career Center matters, right? So even a quick mention during webinars or annual meeting puts it back on their radar, gets it tied to the bigger membership story, right? Reinforces the association's belief um, in advancing their careers and helping them grow. Um, and so, even those simple mentions, we're weaving it into the agendas, right? Even that is a great start, and it will definitely help to spread the message.
Yeah, and to take it further, you can really create those touch points that feel personal. So, like live demos, breakout sessions, or career-focused panels. These show members how to use the tools, but also make the connection between learning at the event and then growing through the Career Center later.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. To be able put a sort of a physical presence around that connection that creates an in-person connection that is supported by online tools. I think we sort of know that's the reason we do these conferences, and they're such an important part of our connection with our members. It's the and then we provide these digital tools, right, to keep those day-to-day 24-hour connections going. Um, so yeah, no, it's great. It, and ultimately, really the best approach, right, and we see this we have a client that a few clients actually that do this very, very well, but a career growth zone essentially at conferences, right? So maybe you're offering resume reviews or connecting mentors that might not have met in person, or you have career center walkthroughs, right? Or you're helping people upload their resumes and apply for jobs, right? That kind of visibility proves the platform's value in real time, and it gives you powerful renewal messaging when your members head home, right? Like it gives you again that opportunity, that connection to opportunity, connection to resources, connection to growth, really becomes that much more apparent uh, when we transfer that connection from in person to digital.
For sure. So looking at the Career Center and really leveraging it for strategic value. At the end of the day, your Career Center really isn't just a feel-good benefit that your association is offering your members. It holds a lot of emotional connection, which we've talked about at length, as well as the ability to grow and advance. So support families and really just increase your overall impact.
It's strategic, right? It becomes a strategic tool. It offers both members and the association more visibility, more conversation, more access, which means more engagement, which means more renewals. It offers better matches within the career center, right, between employers and job seekers, which drives outcomes and revenue. And then, of course, ultimately, when we grow members who are aligned with our mission and we send them out into the industry, right, we're growing and building and impacting an industry in a bigger way. And so it really does sort of play to this bigger, um, tie and connection to the individual mission that you all sort of serve. Okay,
Perfect.
we are close on time.
I know we
We've
are,
talked a
but
lot.
I know we have talked a lot. So maybe now, some of you that have already put your career centers into your renewal processes, if you could kind of talk to us around how you've done that, and you can either do it in the chat, you can raise your hand if you'd like to talk and share with everybody, but really just wondering how you've either already done that or if today has kind of gotten your thoughts, your
Yeah.
creative juices flowing and you're thinking about how you can really connect your career center to retention and renewal. Maybe something that you plan to do after our talk today. I'd love to
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah, we'd love to hear anything, especially any successes is great to share. We love to hear them. But if you any takeaways from today, also super helpful for us and for everybody else.
Yeah, I think this is a great time. Obviously, your peers have some of the best ideas. And while maybe everybody's warming up to sharing, I can share an example of one of our association partners that is in the physician assistant space. Um, they make the Career Center a key part of the member journey. They realized pretty early on that really introducing the Career Center early to students. They had student memberships that would then obviously convert into, full-time past the point of student memberships and helping them land their first job was something that they did a really good job at doing with their career center. So they really reminded their members often about that success, and a lot of times renewal time would be meeting with their first year members again and saying, hey, remember, like we got you that first job, and now you're going to be looking at entertaining your second job opportunity. And this, career resource and career center is a major value that we offer to be able to do that. Plus, all of the other support that the organization helps throughout the year anyway. So really embedding the career center into all those touch points, they connect career growth directly to the value of the membership very well.
Awesome. That's a great story. All right, looks like we have one. We feature Career Center advertising 5 jobs at the bottom of the e-newsletter. Awesome. That's great. We also host a popular in-person career event at our annual meeting. Perfect. Love
Love
it.
that.
I love hearing that. Um, let's see. We probably are running close on time. Um, but I worked with an association. They sort of had this four point strategy, right? One, it was lead with purpose. So careers are personal, tapping into that emotional connection helps them build trust, loyalty, and long-term member value. Integrating careers boosts engagement. So how and where they could embed career services to increase user activity. They did that. And then strategic alignment between technology, content, and engagement drives value. And then start small and scale smart. So I always thought that was a great, sort of a great, simple, oversimplified,
Mhm.
but at least a starting point for sort of pulling some of these pieces together.
Perfect.
All right. So if you remember nothing else, retention is about recognition and relevance.
Yes, and renewal is really about that proof of impact. And like we said before, those small steps really add up. And when you support your members' careers, you really give them a reason to stay.
Yeah, absolutely. Career growth is mission growth. And so super important.
And so thank you for joining us. Thank you if you've been with us since session number one, maybe session number two as well. We really thank you for joining us and being a part of this series. It's been a fun one for us and one that we've really enjoyed. And I do want to mention that after today's session, following today's session, you'll receive an email with the full Marketing Your Career Center guide that really walks you through all the stages that we covered in sessions one, two, and three, as well as recording links to past sessions as well. So thank you all for joining us.
Awesome. Yeah, and make sure to check out those session recordings if you haven't seen them. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.